Time to talk about those big boys. Nameco right here. I'm Dustin. This is your Sinners, Tiers, and Rankings. If you didn't get to that conclusion by what I just said a few seconds ago. But before I get into it, though, talk about DraftKings.
DraftKings, sign up for... If you're watching this, you like fantasy basketball. If you like fantasy basketball, you're going to love DraftKings. So sign up for DraftKings. Use the promo code FST or... follow the card or the link in the description below. Deposit $5, and DraftKings is going to give you entry into a free contest. A ticket that you can use for entry into free contests that you can use on NFL, but you probably want to use on basketball because you're watching this, and Basketball Daily is so fun. And if you do all of this that I just said in the month of October, you get one of these.
Don't you want one of those?
That's a t-shirt for those.
You get a Brent Nameco.
You get me! I'll come to your house and help you draft.
Wouldn't you love that?
Just kidding.
Alright, Tier 1. Oh, look who we got at number 1. Rudy Gobert. You're probably having the same reaction
that we did.
That we had when we were thinking about doing it. I mean, we saw him ranked really high by a lot of other experts. A lot of people had him at number 1, and we forgot how good he was at the end of the last year. Look at his game log. Look at his split stats, at what he did at the end of the year. I mean, you can't help but get excited about it. I mean, the guy is amazing in terms of what he could potentially do in the blocks and rebounding categories. And then Drummond. Monroe's gone. You know, it wasn't really battling him for minutes, but it's still battling for big man stats. Drummond, you gotta think he's gonna do even better this year. We've always been a big fan of Drummond. Now, make sure your league doesn't count free throw percentage. If they do, you probably want to put Marc Gasol in front of him, but I mean, with what he can do in the rebounding category alone, he's amazing.
Alright, as we look at Tier 2, I'm going to start with Whiteside for the Miami Heat. I mean, wow. This guy just came out of nowhere, and he had like 2 or 3 good games. It's like, no way this is going to keep up. This is going to be like a Linsanity thing where he fizzles out, you know, about a month max. But it didn't. He lasted, and this guy is going to be solid again this year. I mean, 12 points, 10 boards, 2.5 blocks, I think is very safe and exactly what he's going to do, so that's great for big man stats. And then I want to talk about Al Jefferson in Tier 2, and I think Al Jefferson is a very interesting player this year. He's always been extremely solid, but hasn't hit that superstar fantasy peak quite yet, and I think that could happen this year. Apparently they say he's down like 20 pounds. He's been working out a lot over the summer, really getting in shape. This is a big year for him, and it ain't because he thinks his team's going to win NBA champions. It's because this is his last contract year, probably. This is his last chance for a big contract, his big payday. So he knows what he's playing for. So I love contract year players. I think Al Jefferson's going to be a 2010 guy this year. Almost a lock is what I'm saying.
Tier 3, we're going to talk about one of the biggest rookies this year that's going to have a fantasy impact, and that's going to be Karl Anthony Towns from Minnesota. I mean, he finds himself in a really good spot because Pekovic cannot stay healthy. I mean, let's face it, we all like watching Pekovic rumble down the court, but the guy's just not built to stay healthy. You know, and I really do think, you know, Towns is in a great position, and we know he's talented. He could be really serviceable this year for where he's going to go in the draft. And then Roy Hibbert out there with the Lakers now. It's kind of interesting, again, because the Lakers, they don't really have much out there other than an aging Kobe and a bunch of wild cards. You know, so Hibbert might be asked to do a little bit more, but at the very least, you know you're going to get your rebounds, you know you're going to get your blocks out.
Alright, as we go into Tier 4, I'm going to talk about, you know, the rookie, Okafor. Okafor is very interesting on the 76ers. Wow, we all know his defensive stats are not going to be out of this world. What this guy can do is put the ball in the hoop. And that's what you need to do in basketball and in fantasy basketball. And he's going to be very good at that. I think he comes out of the gate as a great scorer. And while I do like Wilson, I want to say just based on the attempts that he's going to get and the volume he's going to get, I think he's the odds-on favorite right now to win Rookie of the Year. The other guy I want to talk about real quick is Robin Lopez on the Knicks. You know, don't get too excited for this guy. I don't think Lopez, he's not Brook. His brother Brook's much, much better offensively. This guy isn't going to, they're not going to feed him in the low post and put post moves on. I mean, Melo doesn't pass anyway. Why would he pass to a guy that's actually not good at offense either? But what this guy's going to do is he's going to get you the hustle sets. He's going to get you the boards. He's going to get you blocks. He's going to get you steals. So he's a late middle round center.
And I got one guy I want to talk about in Tier 5, and it's one of the Plumlee boys, but Mason Plumlee. He is in a new home with Portland now, and looking at that lineup,
it got real ugly real quick, didn't it?
It is ugly. They definitely need someone to step up. And yes, they do still have Hicks in there. I'm not really sure how that's going to factor in terms of the minutes, but I think Plumlee finds himself in a great position to potentially take his game to the next level. He's shown flashes, and I do think he is someone that needs to be considered.
All right, tier 6. I'm just going to talk about one guy, and that's Alex Lynn. Formerly a Maryland Terp. Everyone thought, Phoenix was in a rebuilding phase. So they say, you get him, he's going to be a great project, he's going to be great in a couple years. And then all of a sudden, Phoenix was like, oh, we're actually really good. Like, we can make the playoffs in the West. We actually have a chance. So what they do this offseason, they went out and got Tyson Chandler. So Tyson Chandler's going to eat into his minutes, but Tyson Chandler's a little bit old, does get banged up, and they might even save Tyson a little bit for the playoffs. So Alex Lynn's just certainly a guy to keep an eye on, and you could draft very late in deep leagues.
And one guy I want to talk about in tier 7 is Anderson Varejao. I mean, you draft him, he starts playing well, and you're excited, and then he gets hurt. But that's kind of been the theme over the last few years for him. But he can still do it, and the thing with him is he just kind of, he gets you, close to 7 boards, almost a steal, almost a block. I mean, he's definitely a guy that, if healthy, he's going to be a serviceable guy. Late round flyer is all he is at this point, but do like
should have talked about Zaza. I love
Zaza.
Zaza!
Ooh.
Zaza!
Why are you missing? Hit the camera. Now it's going to be all shaky.
You guys redo the focus.